Okay, so after reading about David Ruggles, we go on to document analysis. So the intro to this is, for this document, this 1834 street view of New York City looks south down Broadway from Cortlandt Street in Lower Manhattan. David Ruggles opened a grocery store at this intersection upon settling in New York City in 1828. In this first venture, Ruggles was able to connect his abolitionist views with a commercial business. He ran the grocery store for 6 years before closing it in 1834 and opening an anti-slavery bookstore and lending library, which only lasted a year. A mob burned it down in September 1835. Okay, so this document, which is a picture I'm going to show it to you in just a moment, shows us where he put up his business, his grocery store. And here in the beginning, it says, in this first venture, he was able to connect both his abolitionist, meaning his anti-slavery views, with commercial business, with a business that's run for profit to make money and to live off of. So he first opened up that grocery store, then he opened that anti-slavery bookstore and lending library, which unfortunately was burned down by a mob of people. So if you take a look at this picture, you can zoom in if you're on a computer. If you hover your mouse over it, it does zoom into it. But this is a nice picture of how his businesses were in Lower Manhattan. So, and it says view of Broadway, 1834. Now, there's going to be 3 questions that are going to be asked with this picture and the background information that you read about David Ruggles. The first one is, what does the image suggest about economic and social conditions in New York City in 1834? So what this question is asking, based off the picture, just by looking at the picture, what does it tell you about New York City in terms of the economy and the social conditions? So if you just look at this picture, does this tell us anything about the economy, meaning anything about the money, the businesses, how things are run? Anything it might suggest to you? And since this is an image, look at the entire picture completely. Look at all the different things in the picture. What does this tell us about business, how things are traded or anything like that, the economy? And also look at it in terms of social conditions. So social conditions relating to the people, the culture, the interactions between people. So that's what this first question is asking. And just answer it to the best of your ability. The second question asks, do you think this was a good location for David Ruggles to conduct his abolitionist activities? Why or why not? So again, David Ruggles is an abolitionist. He is anti-slavery. And this question is just asking, just based off the picture, does this look like a good place to set up shop to spread anti-slavery views? Because if you're anti-slavery, you want to spread your views to as many people as possible. Just based off of this, does it look like it's a good location? And why or why not? So if you say yes, tell me why this is a good location. If you say no, it's not a good location, tell me why it's not, and maybe what could be a good location. The last question for this first image is, what does it say about the political and social environment of New York City in 1835 that a mob burned down Ruggles' bookstore? So we know that his bookstore was burnt down, and his bookstore was kind of a charged bookstore because it was a bookstore about anti-slavery. He was selling books, ideas against slavery. His purpose was against slavery, and it was also a lending library. So he would lend books, things like that, that would spread anti-slavery views. But it only lasted a year until a mob of people burned it down. So this question is asking, what does it say about New York City that a mob burned down his bookstore at the time? What does it say in terms of political and social? So political referring to the government. What impressions of the government or law does this say about the time? And social, again, people. What does it say about the people of New York City at a time? that a mob burned down the bookstore. And the definition of mob here is just a crowd of people. So don't confuse it with any other definition. Okay, we're going to move on to document analysis of the second picture. So the next picture is David Ruggles launched the Mirror of Liberty in 1838, the first magazine owned and edited by an African American. The magazine's slogan, "Liberty is the word for me above all liberty," can be seen atop of the front page of this issue, which also features a poem calling for freedom for our countrymen in chains. So this is a picture of that magazine. Now, it's hard to read, and you don't need to read it to get the full information from it, but I will read a little bit of the magazine. So again, the title of this magazine is Mirror of Liberty. So we know what a mirror is, and we know liberty means freedom. And their slogan or their motto or what they live by is right underneath the word extra says, "Liberty is the word for me above all liberty." New York, July 1841. And it features a poet's mirror here. So it features a poem here called "Our Country in Change," or "Our Countrymen in Chains" by John G. Whittier. And I'm just going to read a little bit of it. And it says, "Our fellow countrymen in chains, slaves, in a land of light and law, slaves, crouching on the very plains, where rolled the storm of freedom's war, a groan from Itlaw's haunted wood, a wail where Camden's martyrs fall." And then it has a couple of questions here. So the first question here says, in what ways might David Ruggles' magazine, Mirror of Liberty, have helped his community? So again, he published this magazine, Mirror of Liberty, and this was distributed throughout his community. And it's just saying, in what ways would it have helped his community? And his community would have been full of Black Americans, African Americans, and many of them newly freed. They just became free. They're very poor. They're uneducated. And it's a brand new life. It's a whole change for them. So this is saying Dave Ruggles created this magazine. It would have been available in his community. And if you were one of the newly freed people in the community, what might this have done to help the community, this magazine? Next question. What may have been David Ruggles' motivation for starting the magazine? What was his motivation? Why did he start the magazine? What did he want the magazine to accomplish? Next, why do you think David Ruggles called the magazine the Mirror of Liberty? So take a look at that title, Mirror of Liberty. We know what a mirror is, and we know what liberty is, freedom is. So do the best you can to try to figure out, why would he use this title? Why did he choose those words as his title? Fourth question, what kinds of information was likely published in Ruggles' magazine? So this is your inference. You know what David Ruggles is about, abolitionist. You know the different things that he started, and you know the title of this magazine. You know the slogan of this magazine. So have a guess at what type of information would have been part of this magazine. And you can read a little bit of it as well. And the last question, what can you determine about the Mirror of Liberty from this issue's front cover? So just based off of this front cover that you have, it's just asking, what can you determine about it? What conclusions can you come away with it? What was this about? So you have 5 questions on this document, and you have 3 questions on this document. And use all the information in these documents And you can use the background reading about David Ruggles to help you out as well.